favorite eagle nest. We're right here in the industrial heartland of Vancouver, right on the harbor. And we've got an eagle's nest with 3 young just about to be fledged. I mean, having 3 young anywhere in bald eagle territory is an awesome accomplishment, because most eagles in the wilderness are lucky to raise 1. They do better in the town areas, and more of them raise 2. But here in the industrial heartland of Vancouver, they raise 3, and this is not the first time. So I'm pretty thrilled to be here. And of course, why we're here is a couple of things. Number one, because we wanted to introduce those people who do not know of our eagle's nest. We wanted to show it to them. Want to have a few words with Jane Stoller, the plant manager here, and she's going to give you a bit of background about how these 3 eaglets actually got their name. So let's actually start with that, Jane, because it's kind of neat. There's 3 eagles, and our followers all over the world traditionally come up with a name for whatever pairs of eagles they're watching on our cams.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't get down to having a formal decision, sometimes so late, and then they're squabbling among themselves as to everybody's got their pet name. Yeah, well, everybody's naturally got their pet names.
Yeah.
But in this case, we gave the rights to Lafarge. It's your nest, it's on your property, and you turned this over to one of the local schools. Can you tell me?
Well, with Lafarge, we were a part of the community, and we always want to be part of the community. So there's a school, Hastings Elementary School, not far from this plant, and we decided to open it up to the students to teach them about eagles and get them excited about kind of the eagles, and sent them some pictures and said, why don't you guys come up with some names and a reason for the names? So we got almost 100 entries, and they were hilarious, and they were heartwarming, and it was so hard to decide. I had to call Karen Bill to say, what should I pick? And our crew, they all read them, so it was a tough decision, but we came up with Sharp Eye for one of them, Speedy, and Winnie. The last one. So we're lucky we got 3 eaglets, so we have 3 names to choose from. So those were the winners. But it's nice to involve the community and to teach children about eagles as well, and get them excited about it. So
it is sometimes a little bit drowned out. That's not an eagle screaming.
No. There's 3 eaglets. They come to. It is noisy here. We are a concrete plant, so there's lots of noise, but they're not bothered by it. I think they're used to it by now.
They can be sitting on these containers and on the big cranes that are loading and unloading the boats, because that's the habitat of these Vancouver Harbor eagles. I mean,
that's what they grew up with, I guess.
But the only tree in the entire area is the one they've chosen on your property to nest on. Everything else is totally artificial.
Yeah. No, I think we're lucky to have that tree.
Yes. And for those, let me tell a little bit of a story, because there's something beside the tree. The nest tree, of course, is the tree, and in the center of it is a bushy nest itself, which contains the 3 young.
Yeah.
The large pole with this big construction on the top, we put that up. Lafarge put it up after asking me what could they do to best ensure the continuation of this nest. And because there had been a whole clump of trees here, but that wasn't possible to keep them all, they kept the nest tree. And so our worry was that with only 1 tree left, would that one get blown down because it would be slightly more exposed.
Yeah.
And as a kind of insurance policy, Bruce Wilmer, the former regional director here, said, look, what can we do? And I said, well, let's put up an artificial pole. Let's put up an artificial nest. We hope they don't use it initially. We hope they stay in their nest. But if that does fail, in the meantime, they'll probably take to sitting in it. And they often sit in it. In fact, last year, the very first flight of the young birds, they flew off and came back and landed on the artificial perch. So they are accepting that pole now. And so in all likelihood, if that tree does fail, and these trees are they're cottonwoods, they're darn lucky to live 60, 70 years.
Exactly.
And this one's got its roots hanging over into the ocean, so that's not even very good. So we're kind of hopeful that we're going to hold them here as long as the tree survives, and then even after that with this artificial nest. So another, and I have to say, another kind of community involvement with Lafarge, because that was quite marvelous of them to take that on as a responsibility, and I was very honored that they did.
Here, I guess, before we were, right? So we felt that, and Lafarge is always committed to kind of wildlife, preserving the wildlife. So we want to, for us and the crew, they love these eagles, right? So
it appears we only have one microphone working, so can I have you hold that one and share it between the two of you?
Oh dear, her microphone is not working.
Why it's not working?
Oh, so are we supposed to start over again?
Well, that's my phone. I've got...
Okay.
Oh, well, we'll have to be closer. So, you actually are the new plant manager.
Yeah.
You have just arrived here.
Yeah, I started in December as plant superintendent for this this plant. So it's unique because you have to run a plant, but also you have eagles to watch over, right? And there's a lot of involvement with that as well, with the Hancock Wildlife, and ensuring that everyone's aware of them, and just watching them every day and being cognizant of them.
You're probably the only plant manager who, other than looking after a big plant and a lot of trucks coming and going, has to look after a family of eagles.
I don't know, yes, but they seem like a part of my life now, and all of the crews here, every morning we look at them, and if we don't see one, we get worried, right? We say, where's the other one? But they're usually tucked down in the nest or something, so they become a part of your daily routine, it's nice. Yeah.
We were just down below on the lower level here having a barbecue, which you were hosting for not just your
safety day.
A safety day. That's what it was.
It's our safety month, so we're having a barbecue.
The local plant workers, plus every truck driver that came in.
Every driver.
And I know I double dipped on the fine hot dogs that you made, so I was really appreciative. But it was really interesting that all the drivers, who of course are only here for a few minutes, and then they're gone. Every one of these guys and their families are watching these eagles.
Oh yes, everybody knows about them, and we try, of course, to promote them. But everybody comes in here, and that's kind of the famous eagle tree. So they always ask, "Oh, how are the babies doing when they were hatched? When did they hatch?" And everybody's always curious. So it's a nice thing. Yeah.
You're also a newcomer to Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm originally from Kingston, Ontario. So I lived on the island for 2 years, in Vancouver now for a year.
So you've seen the light. That's one of the things that we do. Everybody in Canada who sees the light moves west. There's no doubt about it.
Look at I work right beside the ocean, and you can see the North Shore Mountains. So it's probably the most beautiful plant to work at for location-wise.
Do you go up into those mountains? Are you a skier?
Oh yes, big skier. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
So it's the perfect place after work. You can zip over and get some runs on cypress or grouse or Seymour. It's great. Yeah, and the eagles have a nice view too. So.
Well, it's interesting. A few minutes ago, Ma and Pa were both on the nest at the same time. Often they're not, but they were a few minutes ago. People who've been watching for a little while will have seen that. But these young are getting pretty big. What are they now? 10 and a half, 11 weeks? 9.5 weeks. So another 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and not only will they be flying, they'll be gone.
We're sad in a way. We don't, because they won't come back, will they?
Well, that's a really interesting question, Jane. The adults will, of course, be back. They come back to the same nest site every year. Do the young come back? Well, the general belief is that they come back to the same area. So in all likelihood, these young, and the young that we've been producing at this site for the last few years, have all come back to this region, but they take 5 years to mature. 5 years before they're going to hold down their own nest site. So that's quite a long time, and it's a long, arduous, and not a very successful path to adulthood, because there's a lot of losses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, see,
they don't want them to go.
Well, that's right. I mean, but the story of their leaving is actually even more plaintive than you might want to admit, in that in about 2 weeks and a bit, they'll learn to fly. They'll make what we call their fledge, their first flight from the nest. But they're probably only going to be around the nest site for about a week, with the parents circling around, kind of giving them protection.
Yeah.
Then the parents will abandon them. They won't have taught them really anything. They won't have taught them how to hunt. They've supervised their flying. And then the parents will head north. They'll go to northern BC or Alaska on their own, but separately from what we've seen of a few banded birds. And then another 4, 5, 6 days go by, and then the young just take off, and they go north. And they're going north for one reason. In northern BC and Alaska, we get the earliest of the salmon runs. So by July, in Alaska and northern, there's already dead salmon on the side of the rivers. We don't have that here until November.
Yeah.
But up there, the salmon are there already by July. And it doesn't take a lot of talent to catch a dead salmon on the riverbank. And so that's in a sense what the young have evolved to learn to take care of. They can get their first easy free meals by going to the north.
Yeah.
And then they'll be back. And we have been seeing, to answer your first question about whether the young will come back, we've been seeing an increase year after year of subadult birds sitting in the nests during the wintertime. The adults will be sitting on their nearby favorite perches, often telephone poles, and the young will be standing in the nest, and the adults tolerate this. So I kind of wonder and guess that maybe they know these young, maybe they were theirs, and so they've allowed these young to come back and sit in the nest site.
Sorry, someone's walking on our site here. We have to watch. We're having a barbecue today, make sure that everybody. Sorry about that.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, this is a pretty secure site normally. I mean,
It is. You need a port pass to get into the port.
Yes, and
at nighttime everything is locked up, so it's very secure.
when we've gone to do things at the nest site, I know I have to put my steel-toed boots on, and I have to wear my vest like you got, and my hard hat, and glasses and gloves. Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way the industrial world is today, isn't it? Do you have special shoes and gloves for the eagles? No, you don't.
Make some. We'll try and put it on them, but I don't want to go up in that nest.
So, well, if David Beaupre, your regional manager, is around, I'd like to have a couple of words with him.
He's the regional he's the vice president of Ready Mix in Vancouver area.
Right. Okay.
He's been here since September.
So I thank you for your comments, and I know we've talked about going into some of the schools together and talking ecology and so on, and eagles. And
well, we're always kind of promoting Lafarge within schools because it's important for kids to know what we're doing for the environment and help them kind of get excited about the environment and biodiversity and wildlife, right? So it kind of goes well with your presentation, so I hope we can work together to get some more of those kids involved. And
well, our Eagle Project is in a lot of schools, so it'd be, I'm always pleased to come and talk to more kids in more schools, so that's great.
And the more they know about them, the more they'll watch them around Vancouver and get excited about them, right? So
Great.
We're lucky to have these eagles. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so Jane Stoller, she's the plant manager here at the Lafarge Vancouver base. Do you have a particular name for this base?
We call it the harbor plant.
The harbor plant. That sounds fairly good because there is the Vancouver Harbor in all its magnificence. One of the cameras for the public is that little white square tower. It has a camera near the top of it, and that's the one that we pan tilt, and it can rotate around. And it was set during the early part of the season to actually look at the mountains and all the different parts of the harbor, which is kind of neat because it's really an exciting harbor. All right, so we thank you. If David Beaupre is around, I'll have a few words with David. Great, thanks kindly. Okay.
I think we're going to have Jane Stoller back, and apparently David Beaupre can't come on camera right this very second. So if you hang on a moment, we'll have David Hancock back, and I think he's got some other questions for Jane. All right, we're going to bring up David and Jane Stoller again. If you hang on a moment, here they come.
Okay, well, we're back live. Yes, we're back, and I have Jane Stoller again. You're not David Beaupre. No. David got called off to do a conversation with Paris, which is, I guess, the heart of Lafarge.
Yeah, our head office is in Paris.
In Paris, yeah. And then the regional one is Calgary, and we get down to lowly British Columbia. I shouldn't say that. This is the heart of Canada. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Everybody who has heart comes here in the end, and that's why you got here. One of the things that I was wanting to talk about briefly with David was really about his predecessor, about Bruce Wilmer, and Bruce was actually an ecologist by training, an environmentalist, and he's the one that was all concerned about the eagle and contacted me and wanted to know what they could do. And it's rather interesting. It was because of him we have this extra nest, or the insurance policy of a nest, and then we got the cameras in and the whole thing. So I simply wanted to make sure that we said thank you, Bruce, because this would not have been here if it hadn't been for Bruce. And Bruce's replacement is now David Beaupre, who, as I say, just got called off to talk to Paris. So sorry we didn't get to talk to David, but he seems equally as keen.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. You know a little bit more about what Bruce has been done, but from my understanding, Bruce got the call from above, or back east, meaning Paris, to go to Paris and to set up a whole ecological division for Lafarge, and that's what he's now doing. Do you know any of the other projects he's working on?
No, unfortunately I don't. I've had minimal contact. Just he's been interested in the Eagles and want to make sure that they're still doing well. But in terms of Paris, I'm not sure what he's working on for Lafarge at the moment. So.
Well, we'll hope if this eventually gets to Bruce. But
yes,
Bruce,
I will send the link to him.
We want to have more cameras on tigers and in India and on something else. And the sea eagle of Europe is having a great comeback. It's somewhat like the bald eagle, same genus, little bit bigger eagle. It's called the white-tailed seagull. Like ours has a white tail and a white head. Theirs has a brown-gray head. But a big, spectacular bird, which is having a nice comeback in parts of Europe. So maybe we get some cameras on those and cover other ecological areas of the world for Lafarge, because that would be kind of nice. So my purpose in bringing David was to really give some credit to Bruce for keeping this whole thing,
I'll
keeping
pass
the bird.
that on to him and make sure he watches this video. So.
All right. So
Perfect.
we're getting down to the end. We said these birds are going to be fledging in 2 to 3 weeks. That will leave us a window, a very small window, really, of about a month, where we're going to go up and the one camera has not been working. So we're going to actually change the camera, because it's very difficult to fiddle around with cameras and wiring when you're up there.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're going to do is put in a whole replacement camera, and then it'll go in as a unit, and we'll know it's working.
Yeah.
So that will be ready for next year. So we'll wish this pair well. I mean, that's all you can do. I mean,
I know you can't watch them anymore after they're gone, right?
No,
so
and they have a lot of natural challenges that they have to overcome.
Yep, exactly.
This nest, because it sits in such a heartland of industry and the center of a city, might have more difficulty recruiting a partner. Because usually what happens when one partner is lost, the male may be lost, the female will come back, and within a few days she'll get another partner.
Yeah.
This is a less generic kind of habitat. It takes an eagle a much higher level of tolerance to accept this kind of habitat. So if we lose one of these birds, we may not as easily, right as instantly, get a replacement for them. But we'll hope we do. But of course, we really hope they both come back. But we've seen this on several of the nests, that one bird will be lost and they'll get a mate just up at a place called Nikowin, just by Boundary Bay. Last year on I think it was March the 8th, I found a dead eagle myself. Just driving along the highway, there was a dead eagle. She had a brood patch, meaning she was on eggs. I could see just across the highway the Nikowin nest. I thought, oh, she's probably from there. And sure enough, I went over there. This was at 1:30 in the afternoon, and the male was already standing on top of the nest. He'd given up sitting on the eggs, because she was probably killed early in the morning at daylight. And he was sitting on the top of the nest, screaming and hollering, just, very unnatural way. Nothing he's going to do except scream and holler. But the second day, he brought in a new female. And that new female and him rebuilt a new nest. We don't know whether she laid eggs. She didn't raise young that year, but right now, she's got 2 young. She stayed, and it's kind of neat about her. She has a band on her leg that was somebody would put on. We haven't been able to read all the numbers yet. But this is the kind of thing that is fascinating. Where did this bird come from?
Where did it come from? And
yes, and
we don't track these birds, do we?
We would like to track and band these birds, so we knew where and when they went. Anyway, it's an exciting thing. There he's doing his winger sizes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. This is kind of a risky time when you get 3 birds in one nest.
Because it is not that big.
There's not a lot of room for exercising if you're going to all want to exercise at the same time.
Exactly.
We've lost a couple of birds already this year out of the nest. They got knocked out, and they fall down on the ground. And then we take them to a rehab center called Owl, and they rehab them, and then we'll let them go again. But it is a risky time. You get a big gust of wind come along, and whoop, he's gone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
And I'm really pleased that you have a share part of my enthusiasm for these birds.
They're here and they're on our plant, so you have to take care of them, right? And we've grown to love them, so.
That's the key, isn't it? You've grown to love them.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.